we all have differences. We don't look the same, act the same, talk the same, have the same background. Our family lives look different. Our where we live could look very different. But the thing that makes us the strongest is how we're different.
Welcome to the Leader's Edge podcast. I'm Zach Ewell, content producer here at Leader's Edge. In this episode of our Personal Lines podcast series, Associate Editor Chris Hann interviews Beth Ferrin, president of McGohan Brabender in Dayton, Ohio. A native of Ohio, Ferrin shares how growing up in the country near Amish communities shaped her formative years, what it was like being the first female president of her firm, and the importance of advocacy in her role. Give it a listen.
Beth, thank you very much for taking the time to talk with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
First question, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Ashland, Ohio. So I've lived in Ohio all of my life.
Ashland, Ohio. Tell me where that is. As I mentioned before, I went to school in Athens, but I can't think of where Ashland is.
So Ashland is halfway between Cleveland and Columbus. It's near
Okay.
Mansfield.
Okay.
The Amish country is what most people know.
Yes. Okay.
Mhm.
Yes. All right. Yes, I have driven through there. Yep. And I've
Yes.
seen the buggies.
Yeah. Well, if you drive past Ashland, there is a sign that says World Headquarters of Nice People.
That's quite a burden.
I know.
Wow. How about that? Okay. Well, that must have been an interesting place to grow up. But tell me about growing up in Ashland.
Yeah, it was a great place to grow up. So very small town. I actually grew up in a rural area near the city of Ashland. So I
Okay.
went to Hillsdale High School, where we had things like drive your tractor to school day, and a superlative was best truck. Uh, so I was one of the few that did not live on a farm. Um,
Wow.
yeah, I was not good at sports because most of the girls were very strong and had worked hard, and I didn't have that edge. So I was in the band and
In the
played
band, what did you play?
the tuba
Oh my gosh.
or the baritone, which is like a mini tuba.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah, but I really enjoy music and always have. So the band was more my speed.
Well, I'm in New Orleans as we speak, so the you would fit right
Oh,
in down here with that tuba.
yes. Yeah.
So tell me about growing up in Ashland. What was your favorite class in high school?
Oh, anything with math.
Really?
Yes,
Okay.
I almost went into mathematics as a major. I also looked at music. I did play the piano the whole time growing up and really love just really anything with music. So um, I decided math was going to be a little bit tough and ended up majoring in accounting. Went to Wright State and Dayton. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so it was a good buffer zone for my parents, about 2.5 hours between us. So they couldn't just pop in for lunch, but they could get to me if I needed them. And my grandmother lived close
Oh,
to
that's
Wright
nice.
State. So it was nice to be able to spend time with her.
Okay. All right. Who are your childhood heroes?
Um, my dad. Um, my dad always worked extremely hard. So his dream, as one of 11 kids, was to go to college and be a CPA, but he did not have the means to do that. So he never went to college, but worked very hard his whole life. And I don't remember him ever having just one job. So he worked for the
Wow.
volunteer fire department. He worked for the township doing road crew and things like that. And he had a full-time job.
Oh
And
my
so
gosh.
I just remember, he'd always be working on people's cars in the garage. He did mechanics work on the side in addition to his three jobs that he kind of had. And he always just, made sure that he made time for us and that we knew that we never made a mistake. Everything that could be seen as a mistake was really a learning opportunity. Um, so he was just super encouraging. And
Hmm.
my mom did everything at home. And so it was just a wonderful childhood. We canned corn and had a big garden, and she made a majority of my clothes. She's a
Oh my
wonderful
gosh.
seamstress. Um, so it was just a really blessed life.
Tell me about that. What were there things that you understood, things that you learned that maybe someone who didn't grow up in that environment would just not know?
Yes, I mean, I think that one thing I learned was it's just a different culture. And um, while we may not understand it, it was something to definitely respect. They work very hard. Um, Depending on who their bishop is, they have different rules for what they can and can't do. So when people say, like, this is Amish made, whatever, furniture, food, it doesn't mean that there's one way to do that. Some of them can't use power tools. Some can use power tools only if they plug in at where they're working, but they couldn't do it at home. Some need to use gas powered tools. We had a hitching post at our Walmart, which was unique,
Wow.
but that's how they,
Wow.
arrived and did their shopping. So I wasn't close friends with any of them. They didn't attend our schools or, we didn't really have much of a chance to um, kind of get to build relationships. But my parents would go to Amish country for different things if they needed something, some kind of wrought iron, something that they needed, or specific things that they knew that the Amish did really well, made really well. So my dad had relationships with some individuals, but mine was more of a from afar. And it's
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
intriguing to see that life. So
Wow. Okay.
something to really respect.
Yeah. You went to Wright State.
Mhm.
Tell me about that decision. Why Wright State?
Sure. So um, I had my high school guidance counselor was cousins with the an accounting professor at Wright State. And she kept telling me that I shouldn't go into accounting because I had too much of a personality. Just terrible.
What does that mean?
I know. And I said, no, I love numbers, but I want to make a lot of money. So, she said, well, my cousin's an accounting professor at Wright State. Uh, and so Dr. Lytle was her name. And my mom and I came down and stayed with my grandmother who lives nearby and went for a visit. And Dr. Lytle was so kind and thoughtful. And she just reminded me of people that I'd grown up around my whole life.
Hmm.
She
Hmm.
even said, if you come down here and you don't have family here, like, I mean, I know you have your grandmother, but like if you need a home cooked meal, I know you might be homesick. Reach out to me. If you need to talk to somebody, like if you need an adult for something, like I'll give you my cell phone number.
Hmm.
And I just thought, this is what people are like here in Dayton, the big city. Because it's what I had grown accustomed to in the country in
Right.
Ashland.
Right.
And I was just drawn to the university because she was so kind. And so really I owe so much to her. Because I picked up my husband in accounting class where all great romances start. And I say I picked him up because it took a while for him to get the hint. And I finally said, I would like your number. He's
Okay.
kind of a shy fry. So Um, yeah, I owe a lot to my time at Wright State and spent 13 years in public accounting as a tax consultant. And McGohan Brabender was my client. And they kept saying,
Oh.
we think you could be here. Like we had such a great relationship. And I loved being in tax because you took something really complicated that scares people and you can boil it down to where they understand it and it's
Hmm.
not
Hmm.
scary and they feel like they have somebody who has their back if anything does get complicated. Um, and so I loved that. And I felt like it was a big part of my purpose. And then Pat McGowan convinced me that insurance is actually the same way. And I could bring those skills to a different industry. And so here I am.
But that had to be, even though they were your client, and obviously I'm sure got to know, excuse me, and understand the insurance industry through that client connection.
Mhm.
That's a big switch. That's a big move after 13 years.
Yeah.
Was there a convincing factor that what made you make that move?
Yeah. So they they had talked to me about becoming the CFO here. So we had talked about it a little bit, but I really just kept saying, I really feel like this is my calling and my purpose. And, tax season is no joke. And so that was, we would get through it. My family and I, that we just have a calendar in the kitchen that we would mark off every day until April 15th. And I had little children. They'd be like, Mommy, is it almost April 15th? Um, and so one year I had come down because I did the individual shareholders tax returns as well as the company returns. And so I was here at the office a lot. And the front desk person, Kathy Hartkey, who is just about to retire. Actually, I just spoke and cried at her retirement party. She was so kind and just was like this wonderful hostess that you felt like you were coming into her home. And then everyone else I encountered here had the same attitude and just caring, and the way that they cared for their clients and each other. I was drawn to it. And so finally one day I called and just said, "Hey, I'm willing to talk." And at that time, Scott McGohan was taking over for his dad. And he said, "I'm canceling my afternoon, get down here right now." So
Wow.
um, we worked it out, and I felt that this is where I was supposed to be. So I left a world that I loved and came to another one that is really, really special and I love.
You are the first woman to be the president of the
That's right.
firm. How important is
Yes.
that for you?
Um, for me, I've kind of always been in a male dominated profession. And
Hmm.
so never really felt like it's different. I feel like everyone needs to advocate for themselves. I know it's different, but I haven't felt that in my heart.
Hmm.
Um, and so I think it's important that other people see that somebody that looks like me, acts like me, has the same whatever as me, has succeeded. And so people feel like, especially young women, I could be that too. And they don't set limits on themselves. So if you set limits on yourself, then that could be fulfilled.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
if you feel like you can do anything, um, I think people will just achieve more when they feel like there aren't artificial limits that are standing in their way. And that's something that my dad always taught me. And part of the reason why I just owe so much to him is he would always say, "There's nothing that you can't do." And, you do whatever you want. And I became a CPA because he wasn't able to. That was part of the reason that I went into that profession. And, but my whole life, he's just said, why can't you do that? And I would tell him, and he said, "That's a silly reason. You can do whatever you want." And so, when I was young, maybe 7, we went to this little church in town, and I told the pastor that I wanted to be a pastor someday. And he said, "Oh, honey, you're a girl, so you could marry a pastor and support him, but you can't be a pastor." And I went home crying. And my parents said, "Well, looks like we're finding a new church because nobody tells our little girl she can't do something."
That must have been quite a lesson, quite an experience.
Yeah, it really set the stage for my life. So I have never felt like I couldn't do something. And in fact, if you tell me I can't, that just means I'm going to try harder. Uh,
Nothing like that sort of incentive, right?
yeah.
Do you, I'm wondering, McGohan Brabender, have you made a conscious uh, effort to support other women, prospective, executives in your firm?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And also, I'm the executive sponsor of what we call our Embracing Differences Committee. So a lot of things we do around here have MB in the word. So embracing, we put the capital M and B for McGohan Brabender. Um, but really the focus of that committee is that we all have differences and we don't look the same, act the same, talk the same, have the same background. Our family lives look different. Our where we live could look very different. But the thing that makes us the strongest is how we're different. And so we decided to call it embracing differences for just that reason, that we are stronger because of the differences that we bring to the table, whether that's being female or having grown up in a small town or the color of your skin or who you love. It's just, we need to embrace those things because we know that it makes us stronger as a team. And so I'm really proud of that, and that we do that as a firm, and that I can be the executive sponsor of that initiative.
Is there a business leader in any industry who you most admire?
I would have to say Sarah Friend.
Oh my, okay.
She,
I know her.
yeah, yeah, I know. So we became quick friends
Now
when I
she's
met
in
her,
Portland,
Portland,
Oregon.
Oregon. Hmm.
How, and obviously she's in the insurance industry. She was just a recent subject in the personal lines interview.
Hmm.
Tell me how you got to know Sarah and why she's been so influential.
Both of our firms are part of C2, which is a national partnership of independent firms. Um, and again, I could go on about that, but I'll keep it brief. But I met Sarah at a C2 board meeting, and
Okay.
just her ability to think through how to run a firm and how to treat employees well, and also just her commitment to her family inspires me. Um, and she's really funny. So
Yes. She's a
whenever
dynamo.
we're in the same place, yeah, we gravitate towards one another, and I just really enjoy spending time with her. And if I ever need anything, I send her an email or give her a call and shoot her a text. And she's just more than willing to give anything she knows or anything she has to help other people. And it's really inspiring to have people like that that you can go to.
What is something your coworkers would be surprised to learn about you?
I'm a pretty open book, so they kind of know all my quirks. I sing at church. So I'm not the lead singer, but I do help out with the praise band occasionally. So I don't know. The most surprising thing is probably just that I love to spend time at home. I mean, here I'm go 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 all day. People probably think I never sit down, but um, I love to sit out on my back patio and just either listen to the birds or um, just spend time with my family and my dogs. Um, I, I think people will be surprised to just know that my pace is not always 100 miles an hour.
That was Associate Editor Chris Han interviewing Beth Ferrin. I hope you enjoyed it. For more episodes of our Personal Lines podcast series, go to leadersedge.com.